The candidates got into it over the notion of free college again. Mayor Pete does this in every debate. He kept making the same terrible argument against it that he's made 100 times over. So Bernie and Warren got in on the response here. Take a look.
So I very much agree with Senator Warren on raising more tax revenue from millionaires and billionaires. I just don't agree on the part about spending it on millionaires and billionaires when it comes to their college tuition.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor.
Wait. No, he mentioned me by name.
I'm going to let you respond, Senator Warren. Go ahead.
Look, the mayor wants billionaires to pay one tuition for their own kids. I want a billionaire to pay enough to cover tuition for all of our kids, because that's how we build a future. The other part is we've got to deal with student loan debt. And right now, most of the people on this stage are nibbling around the edges of a huge student loan debt burden that disproportionately affects people of color. African Americans are more likely to have to borrow money to go to school, more likely to borrow more money while they're in school, and have a harder time paying it off. We want to make an investment in the future, then open up education for all of our kids. That's how we build a future.
Senator Sanders, could I respond after?
I believe, in the concept of universality. And one of the crises in America today is people are sick and tired of filling out forms. So you're not eligible for the program today because you're at 150, but you lost your job, are you eligible? You got a better job, you're eligible. I think what we have to do is what we do with Social Security, what we do with public education. Donald Trump's kids can go to a public school. They should be able to go to a public school. What we need right now is a revolution in education. We have got to end this dysfunctional child care system and make sure that every working class person in this country can find high quality, affordable child care. We need to make public colleges and universities tuition free. And by taxing billionaires and by taxing Wall Street, we will cancel all student debt in this country.
Yeah, so that was good. I like Bernie's defense of universal programs there. That's a bold, strong defense of universal programs. And, you know, I'm of the same belief. I think that very basic things should be universal. And this is, you know, the heart of social democracy is that you still have a market economy and some things are still in the private sector, but some of the basics of life are kind of off the table and part of the public sector. And I really, really like that idea, and I think it's empirically proven around the world to function very well, and those societies kick our butts in many relevant metrics, including quality of life, among others. So that's why I'm very, hostile towards the candidates who oppose this notion, because I think it's really hacky to oppose this notion. Because, what do you really stand for? And the answer is they're neoliberals. They believe way more in privatization, and they're not even sold that very basic things should be out of the marketplace. A lot of people listen to this show and they're to the left of me. And they go well to the left of social democracy. But as I've stated, ultimately I'm an empiricist, and I think whatever you can show me to work is the thing that I'm going to support. And as of right now, the Scandinavian countries strike me as the most successful in the world, and they have social democratic systems. So I believe in social democracy, and I think that's basically what Bernie Sanders is advocating for. And when you have these people who are calling for the same kind of neoliberal tweaks to the system, it's like, well, that's what we've always had, and people are really struggling right now, so that's not enough. And by the way, I'm very kind to people who, as long as people agree on the basic social democratic stuff, I see no reason to harshly go after them. I think we actually should unify insofar as you believe in those social democratic programs. But if you don't, then yes, I'm going to come after you aggressively, because I think you're dead wrong. And I think that's the main split in the party, is the neoliberal corporate centrists and the social democrats. That's the real split. That's the real split in the party. And the closest candidate to a pure form of social democracy is Bernie Sanders. So since that's the split, yeah, if you're on the opposite side of that divide, I'm going to come after you, and I'm going to come after you aggressively. But if you're on our side of that, then no, I'm relatively, I'm relatively calm, and I'm going to believe more in unity and coming together, even if we have other disagreements. But the point about universality, and when he brings up filling out forms, that's a great point, and honestly, we should make that point more. Because it's true, man. Like, even when it comes to healthcare, he's talking about college there, I think, but even when it comes to healthcare, like, it is obnoxious. Every year you have to re-up the healthcare, and I don't know about you guys, but I don't have choice. No matter what plan I pick, I can only go to certain doctors in network, and I don't have the choice of going to whatever doctor I want. They narrow my choices massively. So you got to fill out all this unnecessary paperwork that's really obnoxious. You have to choose what you want covered, which is preposterous. I just want everything covered if I get sick, full stop. You don't give me choice. Like, how ridiculous is that? Cover everything. It's like a fire department saying, whoa, what rooms do you want covered? No, I want the whole thing covered. But you got to fill out all these forms, and you don't even have the choice of what doctor you want to go to. Medicare for All gets rid of all the forms, and you can go to any doctor you want. So really, it's the social democratic position that in many ways gives you more choice, which I know is counterintuitive, but it's true. And, you know, I know people who are doctors who say, I hate the insurance company forms, but the Medicare stuff is so much easier. I get tired with the forms. Enough with the forms. Everything's got to be like means test. Do you fall above the income threshold or below the income threshold? Do you apply for partial, relief or total relief? And it's like, what a dystopian nightmare this is. Just take the basic things off the table and call it a day, man. But now to address Mayor Pete, I don't want to do this again, but I'll do it again very quickly because he just keeps making this disingenuous argument of like, oh, free college? I want to pay for free college, but only for people who need the free college. I don't want to pay for the free college of the kids of millionaires and billionaires. It's a pseudo-populist argument he's trying to make. He's trying to make I'm tougher on the rich than these guys. But that's really not what he's doing. He's covering for a terrible plan. So, first of all, the kids of rich families are much more likely to go to private college. So that's one point, is they probably won't even be going to public college. But the next point is, and Warren points this out, the rich folks under these plans would pay way more in taxes. So they wouldn't be paying just for their kid to go to free public college. It would be like their kid plus like 100 others, because their taxes would be raised to help fund this measure. So it's just not a good response when you say, oh, if we have free college, then you're paying for the kids of millionaires, billionaires. Actually, no, when you have free college, they're paying not only for their kid, but for your kid too. They're subsidizing people who don't make as much money as they do. It's redistribution, which makes sense. In some ways, redistribution is perfectly reasonable. Everybody's in favor of it to one extent or another. The question is, how far do you go? Where do you draw that line? So that's just a bad point, because they're paying for more than just their own kid. And the other point, of course, that people make is it's harder to cut the programs when they're universal, because when they're not universal, it's welfare, and welfare is always the first thing on the chopping block when it comes to budget cuts. But if it's universal, it's much harder to cut because everybody benefits. And then you also have the point that K-12 we already have free. So if Mayor Pete's really being consistent in his logic and he really believes like, no, I stop giving everybody free college. If they're rich kids, then they shouldn't get this. Okay, well then if you believe that, why do we have free K-12? Because the kids of rich families can go to free K-12 if they want. Do you want to get rid of that? Do you want everything to go towards a model of non-universality and means testing? If you're being consistent, you would say yes. What it really should be is preschool to 16 free. It should be that. And by the way, trade school, because that's also massively important. So anyway, and a final thing is Elizabeth Warren's defending like the left position here, but just so you know, Bernie's plans go further. Like her student debt elimination plan doesn't eliminate all student debt. Bernie's does. So just so you know, even though they're both arguing from the same position there, his plans go further than hers does, and I think that needs to be pointed out.